right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Given, episode 3.
All right.
Our
Last
boy.
episode. Yeah.
He's going to join the band because he sings, really good.
Well, I mean, that's not even really the reason why he's joining the band. That's just like... Yeah,
it's
he wanted him in, but like now he's like, oh, you
now
can
you need
sing?
to be in.
Like you are going, you are like we need you, like
because that's the thing they didn't have, but
thing
now they
did
do.
not have. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Now you just need to get him up to snuff because he still doesn't really know what he's doing. He just has a beautiful voice. So,
right now, that's the thing. They could maybe get away with him not playing an instrument. Maybe. But he has been holding on to this guitar.
It's true.
And the guitar doesn't fit him in terms of what it is for the stuff that he's shown thus far. So
right. There's a history there.
There's a history there that we'll need to learn, and there's a reason for it to come out here now that they're motivated, or at least Uenoyama at this point is motivated to get him
up to snuff
in the band side of things here.
Right.
But yeah, we could end up with performances and whole kinds
of
other stuff there with practicing and even writing music together.
Sure. Gotta get some original songs going.
So yeah, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. All right, y'all, we're getting into the heavy stuff. We're getting into it really slowly, but I really like the fact that it's being handled in this almost tender, soft, empathetic way, because we can very easily tell that there was a lot of pain that Sato went through before this. And now that we've had this little context bit here, Hiragi and Shizusumi and Yuki seem to be all members of a band themselves.
Right, but Yuki... we believe is dead.
Yuki is almost 100% dead at this point.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is that why does Yuki's guitar belong to Sato right now?
Right, because
it might not actually belong to him in the strictest sense. He might have like stole it or something.
Well, yeah. So the vibe that I got, from the show up until now was that it might be like his dad's or something like that.
Someone that cared about him.
Someone that cared about him that has gone and basically left him behind and they left him with his guitar.
Yeah,
right?
like it was a form of abandonment of some kind.
Right.
Yeah.
And
but that could still actually work.
But that
in
could
some
still
ways.
be what it is.
Yep.
And because when Sato was talking about it in the episode, it almost seemed like it was it almost gave me the vibe of like a little vengeance of his. To get back at the person that abandoned him, right? And
interesting. And
if it's something where, I'm sure we'll get into more of, exactly what the dynamic was and everything, and his connection to the three of them, and specifically to Yuki. But I could totally see it being something where it's the, why did you leave me? Yeah. And also because and I'll keep this thing that was so precious to you with me, even though it's no use to me, because then it feels like you're close by, right?
Yeah, there's a couple things I think they're hinting at here. One is that while they were in a band, we are not certain whether or not Sato was in that band with them.
Yep.
Two, the connection that Yuki and Sato had together was strong before, the current state of things right now. However, there is no definitive proof that his issue with his emotions and what have you, and his inability to express them, came about because of Yuki's death.
Right.
That could have been a thing that happened before.
Yep.
And this is just more the kind of thing that he's dealing with at the present.
Right. It very much felt like it was something where he had some kind of dynamic with the three of them. Given how the other two treated him. Right, they all knew him, but given how the other two treated him in the present, at the very
no, just the one.
Just
the one.
Shizusumi.
Shizusumi. Right. Yes.
When you talked to him, it very much seemed like we were on at the very least good terms, or right, like
where have you been?
Yeah. Where have you been?
There was that bit of like pain and emotion of like, oh God, it's you, but then also the slight bit of like, what the hell? where have you been? We've been looking for you.
Yeah.
You
And-
fell off the face of the earth.
Right, you have Yuki's guitar. Are you playing music now? Like very much like a wanting to know what the situation is with Sato, right?
Yeah.
And
Communication.
Yep, and genuine surprise at seeing him again, right?
Yeah.
So I get the feeling it's something where the reason why Sato is shown sort of on the outside looking in with the other three is because he had that general kind of feelings of not knowing how to respond to stuff and feeling
Sure.
awkward in social circles and things like that. So we'll get
Right.
more details with regards to that. But then when Yuki dies, then it's even more extreme, right?
Right. Maybe there's an aspect of where his emotions are something that everyone else was expressing in those really tender, vulnerable moments, and he didn't have anything that
Right.
he knew how to express. So it maybe turned him away internally, where he's like, I don't deserve to be with you guys anymore,
Right.
because I can't even mourn Yuki.
Yeah, one of the things that felt very pointed in this episode when Oyama was chasing after him is he's wondering like, wait, are you crying?
Yeah.
And then no, he very much is not. His eyes
Not
aren't
at all.
even his eyes are dry, right?
Right.
That might be part of the problem, right?
That
And
also
then-
might be part of the problem. Yeah.
And then once he actually is like, no, your song shook me to my core, sing it again, right? And he immediately starts singing it again. I can't remember what the order of the details were, but it seemed like he was about to start crying, and like when Oyama got like really close, almost as if he was gonna like hold his face in his hands. So
Yeah. No, if anything, he asks him a bunch of questions, and then he
Right.
says, well, the reason why is I'm really bad at expressing myself compared to everyone else. Now, I think that there's some really subtle things and really clever things they're doing with Sato's character here. A lot of the things that he does that are expressive are very light, are very soft. Now, there's an archetype I think that he's fulfilling in the story side of things, but I think also there's an aspect of where we can tell that the emotion is there, but it's so light and it's so
like
almost
hesitant, or
yeah, so it's like a toxic level of like conscientious almost, where it's
Right.
like I'm so sensitive to the vibes and what have you that I'm not going to put any kind of effort or pushing out there. Now,
reticent feels like the right word.
yes,
to me.
that's a great word for it. I think another thing is that the fact that he immediately started singing when Oyama
yeah.
asked him to, or no, told him to, also feels a little bit like,
Yeah.
oh, did you like pick up on a vibe from that? That's
Right.
like,
It's something where when Oyama was very is very brash as a person, right?
Right.
And in his interaction with Sato on the sidewalk there, that also shone through more so than even usual, right?
Yes.
And the story could totally go for the thing of where they're polar opposites and that's why they're perfect for each other. But it could also get into some territory where they're polar opposites in maybe some ways that aren't necessarily good, right? The idea that him being as forceful as he was there verbally, right? Sato might just go into old patterns and habits and like, okay, you're telling me to sing, so I'll sing, right? That'll make you happy, right?
Right.
As opposed to singing because he actually feels comfortable expressing himself. And
Exactly.
and when he sings, how much because he so believes that he's bad at expressing himself.
yeah, because he said compared to everyone else.
Right. That makes me think that there's a decent possibility that even when he sings, he is not actually really singing from the heart. He's just singing with an incredible technical capability, right?
I mean, okay, I'm going to throw out the thing there, though. The idea that Uenoyama senses something, though, I think is the proof that things are not so binary.
Sure.
He can't not express his emotions.
Yeah.
The idea that he's like, I don't know how to, doesn't mean that he's not. One of the things that's
Right,
really
okay.
impressive about the vocal expression of speaking or making, any kind of noise with your mouth in any way,
Even if there's no words.
even if there's no words, you cannot hide the emotion that you're feeling entirely. If you
Yeah.
just went, eventually you would start to reveal something there.
Sure.
And people will pick up on that subconsciously. So the idea that he's like, no, she shook me to my core. I think he felt the pain and the emotion and what happened
Right,
that's coming
yeah.
through there. But he's just like, I don't know how to understand it or quantify it.
And one of
Yeah.
the things that I want to bring up as a point of contrast is when we see Sato in the OP and
Yeah.
he's singing on stage, and
Yes.
front and center and everything, the physicality of him
is way more expressive.
utterly different, right?
Very
it's confident. It's like, owning his own space, right? Like
he's lost himself in the music. Yeah,
he's lost himself in the music. He is in the act of expression, pure and simple, right? And that is something that we very much don't see here.
Yes.
But that makes for a very clear direction and point of growth, right? Because if that's why this serendipitous encounter with this, black-haired guitar whiz, right, that is talks so loudly and everything,
and
right?
totally isn't into you.
And totally isn't into you.
Yeah.
I'm glad that was already kind of just like brought up at the beginning of like, oh, yeah, no, we know why you want him to join the band. And then he's like, no, there's this serious reason.
Uechi.
Yeah, exactly.
That nickname, I was like, wait a minute. Did they just call him Uechi?
Right. It's like, yeah. But I'm sold. I'm sold on the dynamic of these characters and Sato's distinct flavor of the quiet boy that we want to protect and help, and all that, because that is, a lot of the characters in this show are archetypical, right? And that's not a problem. That's a great foundational place to start, and then you get to know the exact brand of that, and that's where the story takes on a life of its own and becomes distinct from all the other stories that have done similar archetypes, right?
To simply communicate the vehicle of their characterization.
Exactly. And I feel like here, even though we still don't know all of the details about Sato's past or anything, we know distinctly who he is as a person right now. And that's something that I really appreciate that the show does, because unique backstory does not mean unique character, right? Yeah. And you can have identical backstories and have completely different characters, right?
Exactly.
So the fact that the backstory, yes, it's important, but not really. Like it's not actually the number one thing. Is something I really appreciate.
Yeah, and here we are. We have ourselves a character who's been hurt, traumatized, even potentially by a friend or someone that maybe necessarily wasn't a friend, death.
Yeah.
And that whole situation is just something that we're going to have to unpack as he becomes more and more willing to express himself in ways that are comfortable to him.
Yep.
When he feels more and more safe in general. I love the way in which Uenoyama's brash recklessness kind of breaks through the shell, but in a lot of ways, I kind of like that it's not also making Sato suddenly start gushing.
Right,
it's
exactly.
Just something where he suddenly starts crying, a whole ton because he broke through to him. No, this is a process. They're going to need to get to know each other over time.
Right. Both characters have growing that needs to happen, right?
Yes,
and while Sato's might be the focus right now, and that makes it a lot easier to pick up on, Uenoyama has it too.
Uenoyama's was actually very slapped in his face of bro, communication.
Did you actually ask why?
Yep.
No?
Did you ask for his number so you could communicate with him better?
Right.
Because one of the things I really love is kind of smart here is Haruki.
Oh, yeah.
Is said to be everyone's older brother, right?
Yeah.
And I totally get that vibe from his, longer hair. He looks older than everyone there.
Right.
But then you have Kaji, who very much seems to be the just dumb bro that supports you and does what he can. But then it's wait, he said some wise things there. And he's like, I can't believe Kaji's actually 2 years younger than me. It's dang, okay. So Haruki, the one that very much
well, I think only 2 years older because they're both in college. The Kaji and
I'm pretty sure he said, I can't believe Kaji is 2 years younger than me.
I guess that's possible. Yeah. I suppose it's not really important for the conversation right now.
No, it's not. But the point is that for the point in which Haruki could tell, maybe on some level, that asking him for his number might be the better way to communicate with him in the long term. That's something that I think is rather smart. Just
Okay, yeah, that's right. It was 2 years younger, and it was Haruki that was saying that about Kaji.
Kaji. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
With getting his number as well. It might also be a thing of where there was the little joke of wait, you like this kid that much
and you
haven't asked him for his number.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas the people who aren't interested in that way, right? They just have the number.
Went and grabbed it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like getting in your own way.
Yeah,
Stop that.
It is actually really funny how cute the Sato and Uenoyama kind of dynamic is in that there's definitely an attraction, but then we have the older guys here that are in college that are like, yeah, we get what's going on here, but we thought you would kind of try to get him in the band once he actually got good at guitar. And there's no way he went from where he was then to suddenly he's really good. So
also, one of the things that I really appreciated as far as a way to just show how much of a baka Uenoyama is being here.
Oh yeah.
Is that okay? So Haruki, yes, he's the most like mature of the group, right? Clearly, right? But even Kaji is like, yeah, what are you doing? And yet Kaji had that moment where it's like, I'm guessing it was like his girlfriend or or
no,
someone.
I don't think it was a girlfriend at all.
Yeah, it was either
a girl that likes him.
Yeah,
and he's just letting her have a ride on his motorcycle.
Head pats and everything, and like, oh, woo faces are probably being made by her, right? And then he's just like, all right, see ya, And it's just, oh boy.
and it's all set up perfectly because the sister apparently broke up with Kaji over some kind of whatever. But just the idea that Kaji might already have 2 girls that he's broken the hearts of over the course of this story.
And even he is saying that Uenoyama, you might want to get your head out of your ass. So that's like some emotional like power scaling, like this person beats this person in maturity, but they still beat this person.
Right. I still think my favorite part, though, this episode is when he opens up the classroom door of Sato's door, and he's like, "Why aren't you coming?"
Yeah,
like
that was some serious Pavlov's dog stuff, where he's like, he's so used to the thing happening all the time.
So
it's like,
used to
why isn't
right?
What's going on?
Where are you?
Yeah.
Like, there's something so sweet and cute about it, but it's also the idea of what he's actually saying is like, I need you in my life right now.
Right. Yep. I love you. Wait. I
need you. Like, it's really sweet, but it's also the way of showing that Uenoyama doesn't just have the communication issue. He also has the exact same problem with Sato in that he doesn't know how to express certain things of himself. And which is I love when characters that are opposite in most every way actually share something where they're exactly the same.
Right. Yeah. Maybe for completely different reasons.
They're the same.
Yeah. And one of the other things that I appreciate in how it was done in this episode is that the whole we can't properly communicate in this story that is very clearly centered around romance and is one core to say the least, right?
Oh, sure.
Something like that could actually be very frustrating because then it can be something where it's like, okay, come on, why do we need to drag? Yeah. Where's the progress? Why do we need to drag this out? Right? They already care about each other so much, but it's being done specifically for character growth with some. And the thing is that a lot of the times it'll feel like to me like it'll end up being both, where it's the characters need to grow on this topic, but also they don't have anyone who can really communicate to them exactly what's going on, or even worse, the mature person still uses vague like words and stuff because they're like trying to like who knows what, right? But here, no, he's got 2 bros that they understand the situation and they're like, dude, here's exactly what you need to do. Just actually ask him why he doesn't want to join the band. There you go, right? Be crisp with your communication. And I really appreciate that because then we can get the best of both worlds, right? The character growth needs to happen in order for these 2 to really understand each other and fall in love and all that stuff, right? But at the same time, it's not going to take that long, right? There are some people giving helping hands to make it happen in a timely fashion.
Because he's joining the band.
Indeed.
He's joining the band, and his prefacing question before this was, "Are you sure you're okay with me?" That is such an open-ended question. That is such a scared, I am really excited to get to know Sato more because that bit of him being like, "Are you sure you're okay with me?" There's so much implied by that really, really, he can't fairly ask that question to Uenoyama because Uenoyama doesn't really know what he even means by that. But of course he's okay with you. Of course he is. He's been begging you to spend time with him on that little corner stair bit.
Exactly.
There. So
he's been frustrated when you didn't show up.
Yeah. He's now chasing after you in the same way you chased after him earlier. So, I love that he asked that question. I also love that Uenoyama is patient enough that he's not asking why he asked that question.
Sure.
Because in a lot of ways, it's not important right now.
Uh-huh.
It's not important right now.
The fact that he asked that question when there was so much evidence to show that that question wasn't necessary
Exactly.
means that it comes from a very deep and sensitive place within
Yep.
Sato, and so you got to respect that.
But it also means it has nothing to do with the reality of the situation.
Nope.
And that's a really, really frustrating thing to deal with when you're having
Sure.
someone who is emotionally just devastated or broken inside, is that they're going to ask you things that make no sense in the immediate context. But if you be patient and listen to the themes and the through lines of what they're saying across the last few conversations they've had with you, you might start to see a pattern. And one of the things that's I think important to get at here is that emotions are tricky, but there are some things that look like emotions but aren't necessarily just emotions, because emotions is almost too vague of a sense there. The idea of fear is like a biological response.
Right.
It is not as simple as just an emotion.
Right. There's the emotions that are based on like the heart, right? And then and then
Feeling, if you will.
You're right. And then there's the survival instinct,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And fear is basically, when it boiled down to its types of fear, all roots back in that all goes back to the root of the survival instinct here. And that question is a fear-based question.
Yep. It's the thing of I have been hurt by this in the past, so even when there was no evidence to support this or evidence to the contrary, I still need to check to make sure, because well, if I'm wrong, if it is one of those things that hurt me in the past, I don't know how I deal with that.
Right, and because we know at the very least that Sato has been dealing with this lack of expressiveness for a decent period of time, there are other people that probably did not treat that lack of expressiveness with a level of patience, tact, character, or even at the very least just decency.
Yep, because, I mean, having trouble with expressing yourself, that's fine. In a lot of ways,
people deal with that.
Lots of people deal with that.
Tons of people deal
And in
with
fact, when you become aware of that, things can actually become easier in a way, because then you can over-communicate and just let it be rough, and then that's fine. And just be like, hey, rough communication, but there you go, right?
You're so on the money, Jacob.
But
isn't that such a freeing thing when you realize
it is
that
wonderful.
you have a problem with expressing yourself, so you actually become over-expressive?
And in fact, what is music other than there's something that I want to express, but I'm having trouble expressing it, and words aren't really enough. So I'm going to do this thing that's more of just a raw emotional outlet that with maybe a bit of structure, through like training and
so
stuff.
So people can translate it a little bit
right,
more.
so that other people can understand it, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. This is amazing. This is amazing. Set up 3 episodes, the entire course for at least one of the characters' main journeys here. Uenoyama's is probably a bit shorter in scope right now, but there's a lot of things that they also hinted at with his journey because of the veracity with which in the end credit scene he came back to the music, quickly ran and plugged everything in, sat down, assembled all his stuff, that he, according to his buddies, was not showing that same level of passion before. So the stuff that Sato is stirring up within him is something that is his additional direction, that is individual to him, not really incumbent upon whether or not Sato and him develop this relationship all the way, basically, in terms of them getting really, really close. And it could be a thing where they end up separating at some point.
Who knows?
But that passion, that inspiration still carries forth.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, his outburst with Sato was an example of him, because of the help he got from his friends, the guiding words. Over communicating. Right? Oh, words aren't enough, so I'm going to shout them. I'm also going to grab you by the shirt, right? Because
your song shook me to my core.
Exactly. Sing for me.
Yes.
Right? Because he doesn't really know a better way to communicate it. And then, hey, those feelings are still sort of swirling around. Yeah, so he goes home and he's like, all right, let's see if I can put pen to paper and, freeze them in time.
So, Let's go, y'all. Thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
next time.